Okay. Thank you very much once again. I'm very grateful for this opportunity to share a few thoughts with us tonight on smart and stress-free retirement, planning for your next chapter with confidence. This is a very broad topic, and hopefully we'll be able to do some justice to it in terms of opening up conversation, that will further lead to more exploration of this, topic as times go by. So first and foremost, I need to warn us that what we have to discuss is actually a whole lot in terms of what we need to learn. But today is a starting point, and hopefully we may have other sessions where we can explore and do a deeper dive on some of the things that we need to look at under this very broad topic. Well, this is part of our Retire West series, and this is a product or a service from our organization. We actually created an organization to support and empower the work we're doing around retirement management and planning across Nigeria, Africa, and then across the world. We created this series to be one that we can do to engage people, to be able to help them to properly plan for their retirement. And there are a set of conversations that we want to engage in that would inspire life-changing transformation and impact. Tonight, we look forward to doing that with us. I like to say that obviously some of the things we are going to be hearing tonight may not be totally new to us in terms of having heard them before or having had them mentioned. But some of the very deep thoughts we're going to be sharing are things I wish I'd known when I was in my 20s. We actually invited, my son is turning 16 in August. He just finished secondary school and his wife and all of that. And he's also joined on this call because I wished at that age we knew the things we now know. These are things I never taught in school. You will never get them in any school. You do an MBA, you never get them. And some of the thoughts I'm going to be sharing with you tonight, by the grace of God, are very deeply researched, deeply experiential conversations. I can boldly say with some bit of, humility that very few people have done as much work and research around retirement as I've done in the last 22 years. That has culminated in, my writing a book and other books on this. And some of these things are going to, inspire us to a life-changing transformation in our different lives. So first and foremost, I think it's important to say that the topic says, stress-free and smart, retirement planning, so that you can plan with confidence. And I think the first place to start our conversation tonight is the word stress-free and smart retirement planning. And the way to that and the strategy that will help us achieve that is the fact that you need to start planning early and you need to start planning for the long term if you're going to have a stress-free and smart retirement planning experience. And so I need to make some bold statements and foundational, fundamental, foundations for what we're going to be talking about tonight. That retirement planning is actually a 30 to 35-year plan. It's actually a marathon and it's not a sprint. I need to see all of that because some of the concepts and conversations we're going to have tonight will clearly tell you that some of us, like I jokingly say to some of us within our age bracket, the Generation X, few minutes to the end of a football match, maybe 10, 15 minutes to the end of a football match. For so many other people older than us who probably fell into the baby boomer generation, some of them are in extra time of life. So we need a 30, 35-year plan, but we'll see what we can do with what we have in terms of timing. So quickly, let me get into the meat of our conversation today. Retirement planning without stress and one that is done smartly. So question is, what is the state of retirement planning for employees globally and locally? And I'm going to show you, I hope we are still able to see my screen. Please, can we still see my screen? I need to know so
Yes,
that
sir.
I'm
We
not
can see your
losing.
screen, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So if you can pause everybody that is on this call and take a look at that screen, maybe, for 30 seconds, 45 seconds, I want us to try and, take a look at all the headlines. These are headlines from newspapers across the world. And without having to speak to me, I want you to make up your mind. What do you see there? Then I'll tell you what I see. So 30 minutes, 30 seconds rather, 45 seconds of taking a look at these global headlines about retirement planning. What word comes to your mind? Okay, so I'll quickly say to you what will come to my mind. Chaos, challenges. That is what you see about retirement planning, regardless of where you go. This speaks to a lot of things. It speaks to the fact that, migration doesn't solve those problems. Everywhere you go, the problem exists. It just exists in different complexion. Migration doesn't necessarily solve the problem of retirement. In fact, it's worse in some places you may even migrate to. I was having a conversation with my daughter who is outside of this country schooling, and we spent 2 hours. She US, whether you live in the UK, the issues are the same. It's just the texture, the complexion, where the entire world is sleepwalking into a big retirement poverty crisis. And that's what is going to be the focus of my brief conversation with us tonight. Big retirement poverty crisis. How do we avert it? How do we do that smartly and without stress? To do this, we need to do a very radical, a radical departure from our understanding of what we traditionally call poverty. And so all of the work we have done, we have tried to also add to the body of knowledge, create new bodies of knowledge around this. As we speak, we are at the final point of signing a memorandum of understanding with the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management, where I once worked as the acting CEO and registrar, and the professional body where I belong, to help even the HR profession develop a function called retirement planning. Because what currently exists is that people do pension administration, and that's what they call retirement planning. But the competence of retirement planning consists of 4 very critical competencies, which includes pension administration, which is the only thing that we all do across the world, or most of the time in Nigeria, even with the HR community. And so one of the things we're also doing is redefining what poverty is. Radical conceptual redefinition of the word poverty. And so our definition of poverty takes into cognizance the existence of what we call multidimensional retirement poverty. And that is what I'm going to be focusing on very quickly. So in the context of our 9-pillar model, what do we call the 9-pillar model? We have a model we have designed, a framework, a unique and the only framework around the world that is an end-to-end robust, understanding of what we need to do to be able to manage retirement planning anywhere you are in the world. It starts with an assessment. It ends with the roles of key stakeholders like government and other external stakeholders like your employers. In that whole 9-pillar model, 7 of the critical factors lie with you as an individual. I was having a conversation with Dr. Makinde, Ore Makinde, some few days ago, and I was telling her that 90%, for instance, of your planning for your retirement in terms of your financial well-being rests with you. 10% rests with government, and your employer. 90% is you. We often blame everybody apart from ourselves. So our own concept of retirement poverty, which is the poverty that you experience in retirement. There are 3 types of poverty you can experience in a lifetime. The first one is what we call the growthhood poverty. Growthhood defines the phase of life between childhood and teenagehood. We have written, there's a book that covers that. The next one is adulthood. That is from your adult life, whenever that started, 18, 19, 20, to when you retire. And the final type of poverty is what you call retirement poverty. Retirement poverty is the worst poverty anybody can go through, because that is a stage of life when you may not be able to address that poverty. If you had it as a child, if you had it as an adult, you can still redress that situation in your retirement life. So we're going to be looking at 6 different dimensions of poverty that you can experience and that people are experiencing. I said earlier, I've had over 22 years of engagement with retirement planning at different levels in development of processes for pension fund administrators, in engagement of senior people across different sectors, senior military men, military generals, senior executives. I've written a book, I've researched extensively, I've spoken to people, I've gathered data, and these are the types of poverty you find in terms of retirement. And you can see them. I hope we can all see that 6 domains of poverty in red. Red. The poverty of physical health, the poverty of mental health, the poverty of social, social capital, health in retirement, financial well-being, which is the one that we all talk about all the time. It's amazing that when you meet retirees or you study about retirement or you do your assessment of what people do in retirement, that financial well-being is 1 out of 6 challenges that people face in retirement. But it's the most spoken and most discussed factor of poverty that people face in retirement. And then you have poverty of life purpose and mission. We're going to speak to this very quickly. All of these are going to be quickly addressed. Like I said, this is an introductory exploratory session. If time permits, some other time, we can probably look at, doing a deeper dive on some of them. And then poverty of legacies. It's very important that we know that dimensions of poverty are not just restricted to financial domain, which is what we shout about in Nigeria. It's important. But even shockingly, amongst many retirees, that is not their problem. 2 weeks ago, I had the opportunity, was that 2 weeks during the Salah holiday, one of the Monday of the holiday, I had the opportunity of doing exactly this for 2 hours with very senior oil executives, Nigerian oil executives in LLNG Brunei. One of my brothers, who is the MD, wanted me to speak to someone who needed some assistance on security of wealth and assets. And so their focus was wealth creation and retirement. And we spoke for 2 hours, almost 16 or 17 of them, with some of their spouses who joined. It was in the night. For us, it was in the afternoon, but the difference was 7 or 8 hours. So it was like in the night for them. And for them, some of them, the challenge is not financial security or financial poverty. Some of them earn sizable amount of money in the course of their life. It's other things that we're going to talk about. And it is as important to them as financial well-being. So key quick indicators of retirement poverty: not being able to feed well in retirement, not being able to pay for your medical bills. I just pick these and to say that we need to start to think about that, of yourself and your dependents. If your dependents are still your children, you and your wife, not being able to carry those bills is poverty. Not being able to meet your financial obligations, whatever those are, not being able to attend to basic needs and emergencies. I sent Doc a link to our website. There is a calculator there that would allow you to know what you need in retirement. It will give you, it's automated. You put in your details currently. It will give you what you need if you were retiring now and what you may need for 20 years, and with inflation and without inflation. So not being able to meet your financial obligations is poverty. Not being able to attend to basic needs and emergencies in retirement, it's an indicator of poverty. Not being able to enjoy good health. What is the essence of having the wealth and not the health to enjoy it? And that's, graciously what God has used this platform, this community to start to address, the importance of health, healthy lifestyles, and all of that. Not being able to enjoy a soundness of mind. We're going to quickly talk about all of this. Not being able to enjoy good social influence, similar to what you have, in your work life. Most people's life socially and their connections died immediately they stopped working. Some of us don't have more than 3 axes of existence in terms of the expression of our purpose in life: work, church, mosque, whatever that is, and oh. And so when work, which takes a significant chunk of your life, 30% of your life is spent at work. In fact, they found out that you probably spend less than a third of that with your family or with any other person trying to connect. Your workplace takes significant portion of your life. That's why it's very important for us to start to talk about those things, because I've seen this. When I talk to people who are very senior people in their professions, military leaders, CEOs, their biggest fear is what they lose when they stop working. When you drop your uniform, when you drop your titles, when you're no longer the big boss, the big CEO, they lose a lot of influence. And we'll talk to that very soon. Not having a place of your own, living in a mortgaged house, or not being able to afford your mortgage is poverty. Not being able to enjoy a debt-free living in retirement, not having adequate retirement income. That is a big deal for us in this environment. Not having adequate retirement savings and investments, which is also linked to your income. Inability to enjoy the same quality of life you had at the time you were working. So there are 3 levels of experience of retirement. Number 1 experience is your gold experience. That gold experience speaks, enjoy the quality of life that your work provided you, the top quality of life, if you had one. Because some people also have a challenge having a great quality of life. Please, can we all still hear me? I need to get some feedback.
Yes, we can.
Yes, sir, we can.
All right. Thank you. I just wanted to know that I've not lost you. All right. So the first phase of, or the first level is the good level. What is the good level? Good level says that when you were working, you had a quality of life. When you retired, you surpassed that quality of life. That is good. So please don't take the first thing I said. The gold level is the quality of life you had. You people do that 5-10%. In my book, I give examples. It's very rare, but some people are doing it. So if you were able to, I picked very mundane things. You're able to enjoy a Go TV subscription. In your retirement, you're able to do a full premium DSTV. That's what that means. Vegetable oil. Very, very normal, basic things we experience. Then you're able to do cholesterol-free in retirement because you have more resources to do that. If you are doing economy class when you're traveling, now in retirement, you're able to do business class. That's good. The next level is what we call the silver level. Silver level says whatever you were doing when you were at work, that your work afforded you to do in terms of the income you received, you are still able to maintain it in retirement. That means if you were doing business economy, you still did your business economy. If you are doing premium subscription of cable, you are still doing premium subscription of cable. If you had, for instance, in some organizations, some people worked, if you work in an oil and gas environment, and some of the big multinationals, they give you perks and benefit on your medicals that afford you, a It is not capped, uncapped budget for your health insurance. And at times it's for you and your household. So if you have a silver, that means when you retired, you were still able to enjoy that. You had Bupa. I used to work for Ando, we had for senior executives, you got them Bupa health insurance outside of this country. That is silver. Everything I had, my life did not drop. That is silver. The bronze level is what we see across the world most of the time. 70 to 80% of retirees across the world are in that bronze level. And you can look around you. People's life drop. Whatever you're able to achieve during your work life, you're unable to achieve it. That is where it starts from. The beginning of a stress and smart-free retirement plan is to ask yourself, what are you planning for? And as I said, you need marathon of a 30 to 35-year plan to be able to achieve that. So inability to enjoy the same quality of life you had at your work life is a big indicator of poverty. Depending on your children, family members, or government, for your sustenance in retirement, because for so many people, children have become their retirement plan. I need to warn everybody that is a baby, that is a Generation X, people that were born between 1965 and 1980, that the Generation Z, and whatever you want to call them afterwards, Z plus, will not do exactly for us what we did for our parents, taking care of our parents and helping them through retirement. We support a lot of people as we speak. As we're all listening here, if you belong to that generation, we are doing that. They also did that for their parents. And it's not because they are wicked or they are not properly brought up. The days and times are different. I won't have time to talk about that. You do not have a worthy purpose and life mission in retirement. That is a big deal for a lot of people. People are scared. I spoke to people who have spent 29, 30 years, and they've made tons of money. They have investment. They are scared of what they are going to do. Let me put it to us. A lot of us, our religious leaders, are scared of retirement. They don't know what they're going to be doing because they've seen some of their friends who retired and aged quickly or died. And then some of them can't even live without 35, 40 years. So they refuse to retire. You see some of them working to certain ages when they should have been resting. But that speaks to the fact that even them themselves may not know that they have very big fears about what do I do. Someone asked me 2 weeks ago, what will I be doing? I'm used to work. And we're going to speak to that. But I can mention it. You got 2,000 hours of idle time when you retire. I said to Doc a few days ago, think about 1 month of vacation when you did nothing. Then think about 20 years of that. It is killing. That's why most people die just 2 years after they stop working, especially people that work into their 60s, 65, and 70s. They don't last more than 1 year because your life just doesn't make sense any longer. So finally, if you don't have significant trail and footprint of legacies, this is what we also define as an indicator of poverty. So I quickly show us the 6 domains of wealth that we can create in retirement. And it speaks to all those areas of poverty so that I don't repeat them again. Let me quickly jump into them because of time. The first factor that we need to look at in creating a very blissful, very prosperous retirement and planning for it and enjoying it with confidence is health. Health is the core of wealth. It's not even say health is wealth. No, health is the core of wealth. The tragedy of life is that many people in life use all their lives to make a very, very costly trade-off between their health and their wealth. So what do? We are all in that rat race. We kill ourselves to bust, our butts to ensure that we put money on the table for the family and for ourselves. And we do this with massive impact on, our health. Unfortunately, years after, when people want to regain their health with their wealth, it is gone. So a study revealed that retirement increased the probability of having at least one diagnosed physical condition. It increases by 60%. So retirement actually aggravates our health challenges. And very quickly, a verse of scripture that comes to mind, and please pardon me if you are not a believer or a Christian or someone of a Christian faith persuasion, we have been heavily influenced by the scriptures. In fact, it will shock you to know that the concept of retirement was not a concept that ILO developed. It came from the scriptures. Before contemporary time, God told Moses that the sons of the Levites who were priests had to start work at 25 and retire at 50. And someone will say, oh, we live longer now. That's why we work to 60. No, the work they were doing was such that they couldn't function beyond 50. And God said after 50, they needed to mentor and support the younger priests. So the concept of retirement is not new. It is ancient. It is biblical. That's where it came from. Sabbath and sabbatical leaves and all of that came from, foundations of how God ordered the society. It says skin for skin. A man will give up everything that he owns in exchange for his health. This is a translation of this verse. People will do everything in this world to be able to regain their health when they have lost it. And so we must focus on trying to build, a wealth of health in our work phase. And I quickly, I'm still going to send this slide so you can take a look at them. But I quickly go to the point, the third bullet point under active work phase. For a lot of us, I talk about the previous point. Some of us have underlying conditions. Please, as you are listening to me, if you have a pen, if you have an underlying condition, be it diabetes, be it high blood pressure, be it cardiac challenges, be it visual impairment, be it mobility problem, please write them down. You don't have to share it with anybody. What that suggests to us is that we already have a risk concerning our health before retirement. Now, it's been found out that gets aggravated even in retirement because a lot of the things supporting us to maintain the health may be gone. But more importantly, why are we talking about this this evening? Most of us have massive issues with occupational and economic hazards that are related to our job that will not allow us to enjoy retirement. We will not be able to enjoy health in our retirement. And we call them, physically demanding work tasks and physically hazardous work environment. I did extensive focus. I put an extensive focus on this in Retirement Reinvented. And we created, tools and assessment to help you do one of the biggest things you need to do after today. Go and assess and audit, your occupational hazard. Your occupational hazard will determine how well and how long and how good your retirement will be in terms of the greatest, one of the greatest attributes of wealth, which is your health. I'll give a very good example. I gave 5. There's a book that is coming out by next week that covers all of this conversation tonight. In fact, I've taken from it to share with us, but it will be out, I think latest by Friday. I gave 5 examples. Occupational hazard. I give one tonight. I met a lady whose father had worked in, the police force as a traffic warden for over 30, 35 years. And then she told me my father can't work again. Standing up for 30, 35 years had destroyed his lower limb, had affected his backbone, is walking bent. In fact, he can't stand up straight. And that cuts across all of the jobs we do. People in construction industry, people in oil and gas industry. I work there. They give us all kinds of support for our, SHE, and our safety and security. But those environments, even working in a bank and the time you spend, they have impact on our lives. So our ability to enjoy our retirement starts from what we start to do with our health. Thank God for Dr. Remakinde and what she's doing around this area. She's someone you need to talk to. I quickly go to the domains of physical health you need to focus on. And you can see 6 domains. I've seen this across board. Your physical fitness and mobility. Inability to move will eventually kill you in retirement. And that's what people suffer. Pains on the ankle, pains on the lower back, pains everywhere. Your fitness is a critical portion of your physical health. And then all of that things you see there, stress management, you do a lot of that inside this community. Well-functional sensory systems, impairment in hearing, impairment in eyes, cataract. People are going blind. So most of our parents are having problems. They can't even function because once you don't have those things, you are gone. Sexual health and vigor. People have dysfunctional health as sexual life, personal hygiene. These are the different things you need to work at. Because of time tonight, I will not, be able to focus on each one. And then what do we need to start? Poverty is what you call mental health poverty. It's been found out that, there's a 6.6 to 9% decline in mental health and cognitive ability over an average post-retirement period of six, of few years. Another sorry, please let me. Okay, so I mean, over a period of 6 years, you lose 6 to 9% decline in mental health. I have seen this severally. I have people who have, cognitive decline. Old people who call me, an older person, the age of my father, calls me on anniversary 10 times, congratulating me on the same thing. It took me time to realize that he had a problem with his memory. He's gone. And whatever is written, and a lot of us are already there. Once you hit a certain age, in fact, by 60 years, Doc is here, and thankfully, I'm talking to a medical community. It's been confirmed there is a decline in cognitive ability. The onset of Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and all sorts of mental health problems starts a lot of time for most people in retirement, in the old age period of their lives. Some other studies said that, the probability of experiencing clinical depression goes up by 40% in retirement. So we need to know that we need to plan for our mental health. And it also starts in the course of our work. In fact, most of the precursors or factors that will drive mental health started from our work. Some people are already taking it into retirement. WHO tells us that 15% of working age adults were, estimated to have a mental disorder in 2019. The global estimate says that in terms of depression across the world, 12 billion working days are lost every year. Reported. So, when we look at our workplaces, they are rich storehouses for various psychosocial risks that would impact our mental health. And most of us don't do anything about it or unable to do anything about it. In fact, the data from Nigeria, suggests that 7 million Nigerians have mental health problems. I disagree with that. I think there are probably 120 million who have depression and mental health problems. We have a lot of us are not well in this country. When you see people, people are not well, and that's it. Because it's not reported, it's not diagnosed. We see the signs, but we call it headache. We see the signs, we say domestic violence. We see the signs, we say behavioral problem. But you are a medical expert. 7 million, I think that was what was reported or was diagnosed. So we have issues. And what drives mental health challenges? They have key risk, biological risk. So it could be a medical problem, it could be genetic, or factors related to what people take, substance abuse. It could be psychological. People could have emotional breakdowns. It could be a social problem. It could be because of age and gender. They found out that a particular gender, has more issues, with depression and mental health problems. It could be as a result of the fact that we have pressures around us, that we take as a gender. It could be economic. One of the biggest one for most people is financial stress. It will lead to mental stress. It could also be environmental. We've spoken about that, your physical environment, your occupational hazards. So these are the different things we need to start to work at. And in terms of the domains that, speaks to our mental health, that we need to work seriously at. And like I said, some other things we have done, I've covered. What do you need to be doing? Psychological well-being is the first one. Your psychological makeup is very important. Psyche, esteem. Some of us, our esteem are battered throughout work. Family experiences, marital problems, issues from your background growing up. That is psychological. And we grew up with them. Behavioral well-being, people start misbehaving. We need to have healthy behaviors, connections and relationships and lifestyle. Some people can't relate. And I've seen this across board. Cognitive well-being, I've seen this all the time, and it's already happening to so many of us. not even baby boomers, Generation X. We are losing it. We can't remember things again. You call it brain fog. A lot of these things are not brain fogs. Some of us already have started to show signs. And in this book that I said will come out next week, I showed examples, different forms of mental health problems that people faced. Some occupational or due to occupational factors, some due to all these other factors we spoke about. And then there's spiritual well-being. Even science has documented that people have a disconnection. So these are the kind of things that we need to look at. Now, because of time, I'm rushing, so please pardon me so that we can quickly cover this and then we can take questions. The third aspect of planning that we all need to put in place is your social capital network. This saying is something I really like. Well-being cannot exist just in your own head. Well-being is a combination of feeling good as well as actually having meaning, good relationships and accomplishments. There's no point in life when isolation is more dangerous than in retirement. You cannot afford to be lonely. In fact, the biggest killer of retirees is isolation. The biggest fear of some of the biggest people on earth, most successful people, is loneliness, is isolation. When they leave what they're doing, that got people around them, then the fear of when the phone stop ringing, you are no longer the CEO. Doc was a former medical director. You will have a lot of influence. You have a lot of people, oh, Doc, you are the best thing that happened after sliced bread. The moment you leave that place, you'll be shocked. You call some people, they'll be saying, why is she calling me now? She wants to call me. And so we face this and people are scared. Nobody wants to call X. I had a full chapter in another book where what are the losses from retirement? One of them is your status and profile, especially for some of us whose lives revolve around what we do alone, not who we are. So when we leave those things, we start to experience problems. In the multitude of the people is the honor of a king. And in the lack of people, the ruin of a prince. There is something they call now the recession of friendship, or friendship recession. I call it the capital of influence deficit. Please, if you are there, if you are listening to me, and you have a pen to write with, please do this very quickly. Write down 3 or 5 friends that you have that would go the length and breadth of this world to support you. Write 5 down quickly. Write 5. Mention 5. Quickly think about 5. If you can't write 5, write 3 so that I don't take all your time. Now write another 3 out of what you have written, that if you need 5 million naira between now and Monday, they can raise it for you. A lot of times, if I check your social media page, you may even have 10,000 followers. If I check your Instagram, you are the best thing that's ever happened to social media. If I check your phones, you got the directory that you needed to delete numbers to be able to accept other people. Some of us have to delete people on Facebook. But truly, you don't have friends. There's a deficit of capital influence. Or social capital of influence. There's a deficit of friendship. And whatever you wrote down, if you couldn't get 3 people that will raise that 5 million for you, it may suggest to you that your best friends are very poor people like yourself. It shows the quality of even the network or social influence you have. So there's so much to start to think about in terms of building this in the work phase, because that is where you build a social capital of influence and a network of influence that would last you throughout your life. The scripture says that use the unrighteous mammon to make friends for yourself, so that when you leave, they will receive you into their world. The scriptures are just completely complete. And most of us don't realize it. So we live our lives without creating relationships beyond our workplace. So we have this challenge that shows that in terms of social health, people die even from loneliness and develop mental problems, develop health problems, develop physical problems. You don't have friends. You don't have friends because you are not making friends. We have the advent of the social media, but it has not led us to quality relationship development. In fact, we have lost that ability to connect. You don't deliberately connect with people. You only call people when you need them, and they do the same to you. We are so transactional now. That is very important. If you don't build it, you are going to die lonely in retirement. I'm not cursing anybody. Loneliness is loading up for you. You cannot plan to retire somewhere you have not spent 5 years living before your retirement. You will die in loneliness because people don't make new friends. See, I just asked you, I don't know how many people were able to get 5 friends. If I wanted to do this, if I had time, I will ask you to write friends from your secondary school. How many do you still have till now? Friends from University of Ibadan, where we went to fellowship, we were doing loving, Jesus love you spirit. How many do you still have? So you must plan for your social well-being in retirement. And on the slide, you can see the different domains that can afford you the opportunity to plan for this. Christians are worse off because we just have a triangular, a triangulated, social capital platform. Church, work, and that's the end. Oh, even home, we are not connecting. Some of us have lost connection with our children because we're always at work or we're in church. And you know what? When that thing happens, oh, thank God for the church family. That family it's on a transactional basis. A lady was sharing with me, a very close, she worked with me and she's still working with me. She's one of my close associates. And she was so angry about her church that when she was in Ibadan, she was the heart of our team. She gave everything. After she came to Lagos, nobody has called her. We went to a church in Lagos. We were very committed to the level we could. Only 1 or 2 people nobody remembers you. Out of mind is out of concern and sight. That is what it is. So we need to form very strong bonds. And you can see the network of social impact culturally. Some people have to go back and become kings. You don't have any connection with that. No, I'm a believer now. I'm not saying you should have. Question is, where do you have? Social community. Some people went and joined Rotary. Oh, when we're Christians, you can join Rotary. Who said so? Your professional community. Some people became more involved in their professional communities when they retired. Business community, religious community. Most of the time, that's the only place where we have, an affiliation. Political community. Then you are saying at the end of the day, you are lonely. How will you not be lonely? So basically, we need to start to work at our social capital because it is a critical measure of poverty or wealth in retirement. You've probably heard the phrase, money is the wheel of glad tidings. And you can quickly relate to that. Financial poverty is one of the challenges we face and people face in retirement, across the world. And one of the big factors driving mental, physical, and social poverty in the retiree population across the world. It is the most commonly discussed subject, in retirement conversations. But it's still the big elephant that has not been tamed that is in the middle of the room for most of us across the world. I saw some of the questions you sent, Doc, and one of them was asking us, how do I manage finances? People just think that is the only thing. That's why we have to speak about the other things that will not. In fact, if you have finance and you don't have those things, your life is in pieces. Some people made money, then they have marital disharmony, and they lost everything. Everything matters, and that goes to the social capital. It also goes to some of the things we'll talk about. We may not be able to talk about that in financial planning, securing your assets and wealth. But very quickly, it says a feast is made for laughter, and why make it merry? Hey, I don't like this verse of scripture. I did never really like it. I felt, why would God say this? It says, money answereth all things. If you don't have money to do the things you need to do, money is not everything. Absolutely. The love of it is the root of all evils. Absolutely. But if you don't have what you need, you will live a very frustrated life. It will lead to mental health. It will lead to social capital deficit. You won't have friends. It says the poor man doesn't have friends. Which poor man have you befriended yourself? When they are calling, you say they are calling again. Want to feel like everybody wants to be a friend of someone that gives. It says for the rich, money is their defense. If you don't have enough of what you need, you will live a very frustrated life. It will also lead to mental health problems. It will lead to physical health problems. So we need to make enough. And in doing this, I won't have time, and I'm not going to spend time on that. Please, not because I want to sell the books, go and buy anything you can get to help you. The biggest challenge we all have is that we are not financially literate. We are not financially educated. While I was in, early stage of my career in private sector, I did 5 days of, finance or non-finance. I understand finance to the extent that I can sit on the table with the biggest financial experts in the world. I understand it, and I've understood it more. We don't even know how to make wealth. We don't know how to create wealth. God says, I will give you power to make wealth. The word power there is competence. In the Old Testament, it means competence. I will give you the competence, the skills, because God will not throw money at us. There's nothing called money medicine. You come into a room, money starts to drop from anywhere. Have you gotten that before? You can pray all you like. You can do 30,000 hours of all night. Money answered to value creation. You don't create value, you don't make money. You can blame government for all you like. Be blaming them. Your forefathers did. Your great-grandmothers did. You are already on that path again. And you are not going to get anything from it unless we learn how to create wealth. And essentially, it is important that in creation of wealth, on the slide you are looking at, we're able to plan for these 4 things. Retirement savings. That is just going to be 30-40% of anybody's income in retirement anywhere in the world. Don't deceive yourself. Government wants to pay, they want to commit, Nigeria government wants to go 30 billion to paying gratuities to federal public servants. You will finish spending it. Because money, they pay you finish, even people who worked in oil and gas environment. I don't have time to share experiences with us. In 2018, I did a strategic retreat for a big national, one of the biggest organizations in oil and gas. Money is, and so they pay you gratuity of, you will be sure people collect 500 million, 1 billion, 2 billion naira worth of gratuities. But savings will not help you beyond meeting 30%, at best 40% of your income in retirement. Because once your income stops, we have what you call replacement income. What are you going to do? So you have investment and asset income. We can't talk about this. I've done a book on that. The books I'm going to share with you, please buy them. It's for your good. It's my good. When you buy, I will make some money. Hey, but the everlasting truth there, I didn't know 20, 30 years ago. I wish I knew. That's why I'm sharing with my children. I'm sharing with the younger generation because they have a lot to gain. Do you know that your investment life should start by 15 years? Warren Buffett started investing by 14. By 14 years. Because you need years of investment to ensure that you can compound the interest. Because investment and wealth creation is about, compound interest. It's about income and compounding your interest in assets and investment that you have. You also can make money from business income. Like I said tonight, it's exploratory, it's introductory. So we will not be able to touch all of these things. And then you may have other income. If you have not inherited anything from your parents, that is gone. The question is, what are you going to leave for your own children? Before you start blaming your children, your father, your mother, your parents, what are you going to leave for them? Some other people may go and do lottery, may start doing lottery now. Baba Jebu, maybe you are going to win because that's the only way under income can come in. Some people may get gratuities, you may also get grants. You must plan for what you call the replacement income in your retirement. It is your responsibility. It is not government. No employer will pay you enough for your retirement. If you have not been told the truth and you like being told falsehood, I'm not in that, and you can Google it up, you can do everything. It's the same everywhere in the world. Americans need like $560,000 to retire. Some call it $1.2 million. Where are they going to get it? Half of, more than 60% of Americans don't have even the 50% of their requirement. Canadians need $1.1 million, $1.2 million too. Where are they going to get it from? I sat down with my daughter. We spoke with my daughter, and saving $15,000 a year for 30 years, you will not even be able to make, the benchmark. So you will not be able to save enough. But you need to save. So what do? You need to have investments. You need to invest in capital appreciation. And we don't have time to talk about them. There are myriad. I just did a book of, massive focus on investments. It's in the big book I've done, but I have smaller ones now. So again, these are the things we didn't know. All right. So what we need to do is to make plans. If you have the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, what are we going to do? That is not a conversation we can have tonight. Retirement is also another life. What are we talking about? For most people, life stopped when they retired. Purpose stopped because their lives were all around the activity at work. I said it earlier, you have 1,920 to 2,000 hours of idle time. Someone shared with me, the older brother just retired, a senior person in one of the very big companies, and said he sends them this year, he sends them brain teasers every day. I said, because I was sharing, I said, you won't have anything to do. How much of TV do you want to watch? You've never watched it. The first 3 months is always very blissful. Oh, thank God, I'm not going to work. But immediately after that, you start to experience the killer called idleness. You'll be waiting for everybody to return from work. You didn't typically will go to the bank. You go there for 5 hours because you just need to be talking to people. And people are busy. When you are retired, when you call people, you're on vacation, they're asking, why is he calling me? Me, I'm at work now. So it's a big deal. One of the poverty that people have in retirement is their life stopped. Retirement is not a death sentence. It's another life. It's a transition to another phase of life. And so people need to reinvent themselves and reimagine vision and purpose for their life, or else you die. I wrote there, life and purpose are like pedaling a bicycle. The bicycle grinds to a halt if you stop pedaling. That is what happens when we don't have purpose in retirement. People die. People become suicidal. You are alone inside the house. And this, at times, is not because you don't have money. For women, they go and do omugo. Is that what they call it? Omugo. Whatever that is. Your children may not need you to be around them. Your children may not even be living in houses that can contain you. What happens to the men? So women are able to survive this a lot of times because they connect with their if they have, obviously their children will marry, or so they will go there. Men are not unable to do that. Point is, what will you be doing? If they ask you to leave at 60, question again, when do you want to retire? That's why some people can't retire. Their non-retirement is not because they don't have enough to live on. It's simply because they don't know what to do with their lives. And once purpose is gone, life ends. We need to start planning for that. And you don't plan for that when you start, few years to retirement. No, you plan for it over the 30 to 35-year period, because there are things you need to start doing to ensure that you can make a transition. Tonight, we're not going to talk about when is the ideal time to retire. They found out that if you retire at 65, they've done a research. And I see that all over the place. 65, 70 people died within 1 year or 2 years. If you work too late into your life, some people have, are exceptions to this rule. But if you work intensely to a certain age, you're unable to disconnect from work. It's like if you stayed so long a single, to marry will be difficult. To marry will be difficult. If you were married for so long, it will be difficult to also stay single. So we need to plan for what we will do in retirement. Purpose is very important. Some people became celebrities in retirement. In my book, I documented that. People that became a teacher all her life, she taught. She was unknown, anonymous. And then she retired and she wrote bestsellers. There was someone that retired in public service as a permanent secretary and became a great author in Nigeria. People became obas. They were even known after their retirement. Someone will go more. He retired from his missionary work at 60 and went and became, a king. You must make a transition. Some people make transition into politics. Some people have foundation. And some people didn't even get to 60. Bill Gates had retired from Microsoft a long time ago. He had a foundation that he moved into. And if you see him, he's got to be doing something, or else you are going to commit suicide. The next thing you are going to be doing, if you don't have something to do, is you are going to be contemplating suicide. Don't forget, it is not only young people that suffer from the fact that an idle hand is the devil's workshop. So we need to have something to plan to do the rest of our lives. And what are the domains? You need to have daily plans. You know, we break these things down to how do you achieve them? Weekly goals, monthly objectives, yearly milestones. You need to start life all over again. Retirement is another life. You cannot live it like you did when you were at work. Okay, as we round up, so that I can quickly finish this and we can take conversations and questions around some of the thoughts we have shared. In terms of all your achievements, so what? Tombstones are writings on graves. But legacies are memorable and positive writings on the heart, lives of people, and on the sand of time. Even if you go now, what legacies have you left? You know, a lot of times we claim legacies and attribute them to ourselves that don't exist. We deceive ourselves. Some people, you know, beyond the 40, when people cry, 2 years, nobody remembers. Because legacies were not left, because legacies are timeless. Legacies are timeless. What are we leaving for the next generation? What are we leaving? If you're a professional, maybe they know you, professor, doctor, greatest consultant. That's one area of your legacy. What other areas do you have? Some people don't even have vocational or professionally. So it's important that we start to plan for our legacies. One of the biggest one, you know, so I said death is the inevitable end of all mortals. The goal is not to live forever on earth. You will die one day. But to leave behind good things that will. We must leave legacies. So you need to start now and start profit. What legacy do you want to leave behind when you are gone? Will the next generation inherit poverty away from you? Will it end with you or will it continue? You know, for some of us, part of why we're unable to also leave legacies, we don't even live long enough. It may stem from our occupational hazard. It may stem from all the points we have discussed earlier. We must desire to live long and live well. Living well means leaving legacies. You worked in a great organization, you earned all the monies in this world. It's just for your family. In fact, for so many of those people who earned money, they are gone. Their families are still fighting 20, 30 years after. At times, my wife will say, oh, do you have to mention the names? It's public. They wrote him in Williams. Chief Rotimi Williams left fortunes. That family is still struggling to share those assets over 20 years. They're in court. One of the other Rotimis, an SCN, is dead. What legacies are we going to leave? That's what legacy is all about. It's not leaving inheritances for people. It is, are they able to continue with your name and with the things you left behind? So these are domains where you need to start to think about that. Your family, what legacies are you leaving? You must be deliberate about it. You must be deliberate about it. Professional and vocationally, what are you leaving? In the public, what are you leaving? Economically, the Bible says that a good person, and that is the greatest motivation for legacy from an economic point of view, will leave inheritance for his children's children. That is a legacy we must leave. We must not hand over the baiting of poverty to that generation. Okay, so as we close, you can go to the website. I've shared that with Doc. You can do a lot of assessment on different things. Free assessment. Please take advantage of them and figure out where you are, because the first pillar of retirement planning is assessing where you are so that you can know what you need to do. You know, so why are people struggling in retirement? People are not well prepared and well equipped. That's why we have this conversation. And we need to have more. You need more knowledge. People are not effectively, comprehensively, and timely informed about retirement planning. So they send you to programs. I'm not sure anybody that is here that has ever attended one before. I never did in my life. I never did. The only privilege I have is that God has pushed me into this. So I know so much, you know, so little, but so much, simply because I've been involved in doing this. Nobody ever sent you. So I was talking to an organization. I have over 1,400 well-paid people. One of the best places you can ever want to work. And they say, oh, doc, we even have some people you talk to, they want to go into retirement. I say, it's for you, 30, 35 years. Those ones is too late. Whatever I'm saying to them, I will have to create a special program. On the 25th, I'm going to be talking to some set of, an organization. And, when I was talking to the director of it, I said, but we'll see what we'll do. Because we have to craft out a program for you. It's a 35-year plan. If you are not going to do it with stress, and you're going to do it smartly. People lack systemic and institutional support to retire. So the government is not there to also support you. In Nigeria, there are no social security welfare benefits. Even when they collect it, it's not enough. But we don't even have for people in their old age. If you are not paying people in Nigeria, let people above 60. And those are the kind of things we are going to also engage the government with, because we have it as one of the pillars and we're going to work on it as an organization. People are unable to retire because of badly invested career income. They don't even have enough career income to start with. People don't have enough career income. People badly invested it. Bad investments, in fact, kills people a lot of times. People retire, they go and start putting money into some investments. That's why we train, and a critical part of the book that I wrote, we focused on not what you should be doing. Oh, do this kind of business. No. We focus on how do you do business. You must never run a business after retirement that you didn't start 5 years before retirement, because you will fail and it will obviously kill you. We have run business all our life. You need to have done internship in a business for a year, run it for 4 years, then you retire into it. How do you want to make a success of something you've never done in all your life? You just finished. They said, there's this business that is selling. It is debt that is loading for you. People are unable to secure the income earnings that they have and their investment. That is the final part of why people struggle in retirement. There is security investment, there's asset and investment security. Different ways you need to do this. You need to have the right next of kin defined and check your documentations. I focused seriously on it in my book. The next one is probate process. Will. Men, we don't have will. People are still fighting over assets of people. But even when you do the will, it is contestable in court. It can be subjected to litigation. Most of us don't know that we can also do revocable and irrevocable trust. And for people like us who do and deal with intellectual material, you can do royalties. You can do copyright, you can do trademarks, you can do patents for ideas and invention. We need to secure those things, or else all our labor, unfortunately, may have been wasted. 70 to 80% of Nigerians are not prepared for retirement. And that includes even me talking to you. I'm not well prepared. But thankfully, because I know a lot of other people, I'm trying to work at that. And we don't have a window to do that. We should have had this 30 years ago. But, it's better late than never. So hoping that your retirement will turn out well without a documented plan is not a strategy. Hoping that it will change without a documented plan. So most of us may have been planning for retirement, and most people do, but it's always in your head. No, that's not a plan. That's a wish. So God forbid is also not, the prayer to pray. It is no longer just a prayer. It is an action point we need to take. As I round up, I'll just leave you with some of the recommended resources. And I challenge us, if you do not invest in knowledge, you will dearly pay for ignorance. We need to, a lot of us like free things, and it's good to have it free. Like I said to some people, I said, well, if I'm doing this, I'll do it 2 days. It's 150,000 naira. Because the things that will save your life from anguish and pain are the things we're going to share. So thank this community for bringing this to us. And for me, it's part of what I continue to do to ensure that we can help humanity. We can help our fellow citizens get out of their trouble. So this is something you can pick up on seller.com. Is here, within our borders. You can pay for it. The richest man in Thailand speaks to investments, because we don't have insight and knowledge about investments. Massive. I'll give you a very quick testimony or case study. In 2002, we bought 3 pieces of gold for around 30,000 naira. Some 18 karat gold for, just for 30,000. By 2023, right? January, We sold it for 890,000. Because when I was writing that book, and then we went to the Wuse Gold Market, I actually even told my wife, why are we even doing this work we are doing? Why are we not selling gold? In fact, one of my biggest problems is that I went to school. I don't know why I went to school, because I should have been doing, I would be Baba Mekudi. Gold, the biggest preserver of value from the times of Solomon. It's still for you to know. And what about stocks? What about bonds? I saw a publication. If you put ₦1 million 2 years ago in stocks, in some stocks in Nigeria, you would have had 11 million naira. We had this going for us as a group at some point. And, we had the 2008 financial crisis, and we all abandoned. Some of the richest people, the book I've written on the mindset of the billionaire invented, which is what I'm going to show you, it's there. People made tons of money from dividends. They live on it. One of the biggest challenges we have in financial planning, and why we are not wealthy, is that we don't know there are multiple types of income. So what you hear is multiple streams, multiple streams. Let me give you and quickly explain that. Multiple types. Wage is a type of income. So if you work anywhere, you're collecting wages. If you have a house that you rented out, that is rent income. It's different from wage income. You could have 30 houses. That is 30 streams of income in a type of income. If you are doing 4 jobs, like some Nigerians do outside of Nigeria, you have one type of income called wage or salary income, and you have 4 types. There are 8 types of income. They found out that the rich do not have less than 4 to 5 types of income. Dividend income, royalty income, income that you make from day to day, from month to month, income you don't lift a finger to make. So please, I encourage you, the Reinvented Billionaires Mindset, it's a deep discourse on different things, the difference between the poor and the wealthy. I saw it and I said, wow, I need to get this to people at an early age. If we are going to change the narrative of poverty in Africa, we need to get this to our children very fast. The rich don't spend their income. They don't. You collect the same income. You are both on the same level. If they're going to be rich, they don't spend their income, on expenses and liability. That's what we all do as poor people. They invest in assets. An asset pays for their debt. It pays for their liability and expenses. But these are the things we cannot share tonight. And I encourage you to seek for knowledge. This is the book. This apparently you can only pay for in dollars outside of Nigeria. It was published in the US. We don't have physical copies here. You can, if you want to order for it, please, you can go to those links. This is coming out by next week. This is where I picked today's conversation from. It's deep. It's deep. It's provocative. It could be troubling, because when you look at what you have missed, but you now see the windows that you have to make remedies. As I close, ignorance is never excusable. You may not have known a lot of these things before. Now that we know, what do you plan to do with it? Thank you very much for your time. I hope it made some little sense. I had to rush, so pardon me for having to rush. I wanted to finish as early as I could, so that I could also allow you to go back to your beds, and to also allow you to ask questions. Thank you once again for your time. Hello, please, can you hear me?
Wow, wow, wow. That is amazing. This is thought-provoking. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, sir. We have learned so much from you. Thank you for dropping all those gold nuggets. Please, let's show some appreciation for our facilitator tonight, Dr. Olayiwola Oladapo. Thank you, sir. We could go on and on. We could just keep listening to you, because you were just dropping it. Every sentence, one after the other, was, something fresh and thought-provoking. We really appreciate you taking your time tonight to bring this home to the community of lifestyle champions in the house. Thank you. Thank you so much. We have quite a number of people in the house, over 90 participants tonight. That's really amazing. Thank you for showing up. And I believe that this introduction, I would call it, will do us a lot of good, because it just shows us that we have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do, both for ourselves and for our children, the next generation. They need to learn so that we can retire well. We can retire in health. So this is a time for questions. I saw some comments in the chat box earlier. So a lot of comments there. Thank you so much, sir. Well done for the very insightful presentation. Thanks so much, quite insightful. Thanks so much, sir, for opening our eyes to these issues. Great lecture, real eye-opener. Thanks, sir. Really thought-provoking. Thank you, sir, for the great and educative presentation. Thank you so much. All comments acknowledged. Thank you. I can see Dr. Remakinde, you're doing a great job. God bless you more. Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I noticed a question earlier. Someone said, please, I think that's from Adeleke, please, how can what you enumerated in this lecture be achieved by public servants in Nigeria? Public servants.
Okay, thank you very much for those very wonderful, very kind, thoughtful feedback. I was wondering if it made any sense at all, because at times I guess I can be talking to myself and, talking in my world. I've seen these things, and everything I've shared by the grace of God are things I've seen, I've experienced, all that, we began to see and to speak about. So for that question, I also saw it. And amazingly, my wife knows someone who just retired 2 years ago from the public service. He didn't steal money. He didn't become a director, and he's extremely very comfortable. Very, very comfortable. In fact, in the public service, federal public service, they don't even pay them until a year after retirement. They don't start collecting pensions. He didn't steal money. He's actually, I don't want to mention any of the churches because it's not because he's a member of a church or he's a pastor. A lot of our pastors steal money in public service. People that call themselves pastors. They may not be pastors. They may be pastors, but this person is doing well. I asked him, and I probably would take his permission to write a story, a case study, because I have two people. I have someone who works in a very wonderful organization. He's a very top executive. Some of those assessments, when I sent it to him, I knew he was going to blast, 60 over 60, he's probably going to get it. But it's also someone. So let me quickly come to that question. What does it take to retire well? It takes 30, 35 years. Someone who told me, Dr. Lai, my first years, I knew this individual in the late 90s. He collects his salary, he puts 95, before he got my 95% of his salary was going, 85% of his salary, I think I lost.
Volume, please.
Please, can we? All right. Okay, I think I'm back. Can we hear me, please?
We can hear you now.
Yes, ma'am. All right. So critical thing.
We lost you again, sir. Hello, sir. Hello, sir.
Doc, okay. I hope I'm back now.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So number one is planning for a very, very long time. So I met this person also who worked in the public service, and I asked him, sir, how did you achieve it? He said, Dr. Lai, it's a long-term plan. He decided he was going to have only 2 children. Fortunately, as God will help him, he had those children as early as he could, because those are the kind of things you need to know about retirement planning. Ideally, you should not be training children during your retirement, but that may be out of your control if you didn't marry early. or you had issues having children early. So that may be out of your control. But what could not be out of your control is planning for those children, even if you have to take care of them in retirement. And then years ago, you would, borrow money. So again, going back, civil servants. Our parents were, some of them, and most of them were public servants. They trained us not through their income, they trained us through their cooperative societies. They trained us through the loans they took. I was sharing with a mentor of mine this afternoon, and he was going to take a loan for some massive investment, some human capital investment. And I said, the problem with the poor, including me, is that when we take loans, we only take it to consume it on our expenses and liabilities. The rich will take a loan, even if they have to spend a part of it on liabilities and expenses. They put another one into capital investment. Some people worked in Abuja for 20, 25 years. Doc, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Wow. I think I've lost him.
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear you.
All right. They worked in Abuja, and when land was being sold for, when land was being sold for 100,000 naira, we didn't buy. And the person was saying, is our Christian belief a debtor is a slave to the lender? I said, but you're always borrowing now. We borrow. Well, we borrow to eat. When we can borrow to invest in assets. He was screaming this morning because he was going to do the same again. I said, that is the difference. And I gave examples, clear examples. 2 people bought cars, the same salary. One drives it to work, one gave it to Uber for a manager to manage for him. You will, if you someplace you pay a driver, you pay for fuel, you pay for maintenance. Let's say it takes, you pay 150 or 200K on the car every month. This other person doesn't pay that amount. The car sustains itself. When he needs the car or she needs the car, she calls the car, pays the driver, so she can move around. And she collects 100,000 every month. It is clear that it is not. And I said to him, God, we start to ask God, give us money to invest. He said, no, go and read the Bible. The woman with the pot of oil, the prophet told her, go and borrow not a few. But it wasn't for consumption, it was for production. The challenge you have, and as civil servant, you have assets. The banks will give you a little amount of money, but what we have been using for actually burial services, all the kind of nonsense we do around this world. And if you check it, we have all been given grace and seed to invest in capital. I just spoke about it. I met a publicist. She told me, Dr. Lai, I just buy gold, and 3, 4, 5 years. She's a director. She does, how much does she have? And that gold increases in value. I just buy a plot of land, not on Kumbat. We know there are problems with that a lot of times. There are different things you can do. I checked at it. If I was putting 10,000 naira, every month, in 30 years, that's 3.6 million. If you had done that in investment in stocks, that may be worth 10, 12 million naira now. So the challenge we have is not where we work. That's the point I'm making. Please, people that are public servants, people in oil and gas, do you know people earn 3, 4, 500 million naira salary a year? They earn 4, 500 million naira and they are still broke. It is not what you earn. It is what you have done with what you earn. And people that have been able to make a success of retirement took advantage. So in Abuja, Lugbe, Kubwa, when they were here, when land was being sold for 50,000 naira, and the man told me how he built the first house, I built shops. Again, when we build, what do we build? Poor people, every time we go and take a mortgage, we take money to build a house. We go and live inside. No, those are the things that needs to change. We don't understand how to create wealth. If you took a loan, for instance, to build a house, rent it. Don't build a residential. Build one that will make you money and that people cannot default. Build a commercial. Build, shops and rent it out. Let the shops pay for the loan. Let it pay for the house. But, poor people will park inside. If you lose your job and you're unable to pay, banks will take back the house. So there are so many things. It's a lifestyle, sir, or ma, whoever wrote that question. And as I said, I wish we knew some of these things. And it works. The prophet told the woman Several years ago, I had the opportunity of doing a lot of empowerment sessions with Toyota Mefa Baptist Church, through Professor Kunle Idowu for 2, 3, 4 years, 2012, 2013, 2014. It transformed a lot of, I'm sure a lot of people are there who can give testimonies to this. And I called the woman, Madam Mama Gio. The husband was a man of God. He died in poverty. The children were going to be taken into slavery. The woman testified, said, you know that your servant loved the Lord. Loving God has nothing to do with dying in poverty. And the prophet, who was a former entrepreneur, Elisha was an entrepreneur, told her, what do you have inside your house? She said, nothing. None of us can claim we don't have anything. We just don't know what we have. She took the pot of oil, and he said, that pot of oil, go and use it. But borrow vessels. She didn't have vessels. We spoke about all of that this evening. He said, go to your neighbors. Some of us don't greet our neighbors. Some of us don't have neighbors. We have neighbors, but they are not our neighbors. You don't want to go on the day you need vessels. And she went and borrowed. He said, borrow not a few. The difference, and why borrowers will be slave to lenders, is we borrow to consume. They will own us. But if you borrow to produce, so even as we speak, you need to start to think. And one of the things that we have not used properly is pulling resources together. Cooperatives. The advancement and progression of wealth suggests that I may not be able to do it alone. So mutual funds, that is what the investment firms do. If you want to buy, for instance, a portion of mutual fund, Euro bonds, for instance, you need $200,000 to be able to buy one chunk of it. They say, oh, Doc, you have 100,000, pull it together. Lai has 100,000, Nikkei has 200,000. They pull it together. Rather than give you 9%, which they will collect, from the Eurobond investor, they will give you 6%. They will take 3%. So my point here is we have not been educated financially. It is not what we collect. I said it to this person. I said, I used to say, God, give us money to invest. He said, all this money I've given you, God. I said, they have debt now. He said, it's debt you invest now. Have you not used it to eat? So I think there's a massive need for reorientation. And that's why I said we cannot do enough justice to this tonight. It's a mindset. We have not been educated. We have not been properly trained to create wealth. It is not all the things we think about. I don't want to mention those organizations because I want to respect them. They came to their management to tell the banks not to borrow us money again. People earning $300 million a year said because some of us will not go with any gratuity. They borrowed out their entire entitlement. And 6 months after, they are broke. So it is not how much you make. It's what are you going to do with it? And you don't have to have it because we are still borrowing. We borrowed to send children to school. Why did you borrow to buy an asset? So that you pay back. And that asset will eventually fund your way out of poverty. So we need a massive reinvention of our mindset as to what wealth creation is all about. I hope I'm able to answer that question within the limited time we have. But I can assure you so many things. See, if you don't want to buy any of the books I've done, go online and read Richest Man in Babylon. Go and read it. It's free. Go and read Richest Man in Babylon. You'll be shocked. But what we must not forget is that wealth is not created overnight. It is 30, 35 years. It is compounded interest. We need time. Now, if we don't have time, what can we still do? Yeah. The sun can still help us. The sun that is still in the sky can still help dry our hay. So if we still know what to do, because there are things, and I'm not trying to sell anything. My wife, runs, a real estate company that is part of all the things I'm talking about. We have streams of income in types of income, and we have types of income. We have a real estate business. It's a business income. We have a consulting business. This stuff I'm talking to you about, we have created a business that is going to obviously go globally, and it's our retirement plan. We have a gift and AMPA business. We did it for 5-6 years before we registered it. It's probably generated 20, 30, 40, whatever millions of naira is generated. That is one type of income, business income, but streams. And so I'm just using that as an example of what I spoke about. In terms of real estate, they have land banking. You can put money, you generate income, the money is for you. If you want to buy the land, is there. There are different things. And she has a lot of people on her network. I don't want to mention them. Some may be listening to this who make tons of money every month. from real estate. They sell passively. They are senior executive. They are selling. Someone is selling land in Abuja from Lagos. We are in Abuja. We didn't sell it though, because she uses her network in a church. And some people make 1.52 million extra money. So they tell you as a public servant, the only job you can do after public service is farming. If you go into the farm, they will kidnap you now. We'll be contributing ransom for you if you are not very careful. So, but that is there also. Some of my brothers and friends, the Dr. Markindays, the twins, they're into agricultural entrepreneurship, and people have things you can invest to. Yes, some of them have risk, but obviously, what we are saying again tonight is we need a deliberate plan, and you may fail, but make sure you don't stop, eating at it until you get it. But we need a lot of education. I hope I'm able to answer that question as briefly as I could. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thank you, sir. In fact, I think you have answered some of the other questions that popped up after that. Like there's a question here from Edith Ibitoye saying, for those who retired a few years ago and were not knowledgeable about assets and investments, how do they improve on their financial status going forward? Is there a way out? I think you have even delved into that and given examples of some of the things that we can do, the different kinds of investments that we could actually take up. But I guess the take home tonight is that we should start now. It's better late than never. Retirement for many of us might just be 5 years away, 10 years away, 15 years away. But if it's a business, it's an investment, it's something, let's start now. I think that's a take-home message tonight. Wow, it's been really informative, and so many other messages. Just appreciating you, sir, for the great insights tonight. I don't think I see any other question. I scrolled up, and just to let us know that I've shared important information. Number one, free resources from the website of our facilitator tonight. I shared that earlier, and I think I'll probably just share that again so that we can start with the assessment. Remember that retirement planning starts with a self-assessment of where you are right now. And that's when you can begin to really say, oh, where do I go from here? And remember that it's not only about finance, it's also about your social capital, it's also about your mental well-being. Like he said, I visit a vulnerable home or a care home once a week. And there are some people in that home that they are just barely 60 years and they already have dementia. And I mean, dementia is a set in. They can't remember family, they can't recognize people. People are seeing me today. They say, oh, it's been a long time you came, whereas I was there last week. So it all starts with what we are doing, taking care of ourselves now, self-care. If you spend most of your time sitting down, your brain is going to shrink. So we have evidence for that. So the more you move, the more physical activity you're engaged in, especially aerobic activity, then your frontal lobe, your cortex will, become bigger, and of course that will enhance cognition, memory, concentration, and many other things. So self-care, mental well-being, social well-being, of course, financial well-being, all these things, they go hand in hand. So please, let's also take advantage of the books that Dr. Olayi has written. I've shared the links. I think I should share them again. And I'm going to still follow up this conversation, with the slide, give us the slides. So I'll send out the slide to the recording, and then the links to the books as well. There's a last comment here that says individual household fails to recognize that income is equals to consumption plus saving. That's Y equals to C plus S, irrespective of the level of income. This is the mindset for wealth creation. Do you want to make comments on that, sir? I'll reshare the links
Can you
now.
say that again so that I can get the formula? I can, So he said
Individual households.
Doctor.
So the formula is income
All right.
is equal to consumption plus saving, irrespective of the level of income.
Okay, so that is partially correct. So, individual income should not just be consumption and savings. It should be, consumption, savings, and investment. And that's what we're, so typically the challenge you have taken me to something we focused on in, like I said, one of the books. So let me quickly explain that, and that may help a lot of people. So between two people who are going to be rich and poor, it is what they do with what we call the income, the asset, the liability, and the expense framework. In one of the books, I think that is Retirement Invented. I'm not even sure one of them that has it. And I focused on that extensively because that is the secret of wealth creation. And I never knew that. So I quickly explain it again. We collect money, me and doctor. Doctor is going to be rich. Maybe I'm going to be very poor. The same amount of money, same challenges, same needs. As doctor that wants to be rich knows what she has to do, she commits that money into getting an asset. We both have bills to pick. We both have expenses. Liabilities are things like cars. You need a car, but it's a liability because it doesn't produce any income for you. So we need those things. So I will go and use my income on that. Doctor, and that's why I use that example, a clear example of two people buying cars. Doctor will invest in an asset. Maybe 40% in an asset, 60% in consumption. Let's say 40% in consumption, 20% in savings. Someone say, no, I don't even earn enough. Or guy, we've never all earned enough all our lives. Nobody has ever earned enough. Even people collecting, I told Doc, people are collecting 3 billion a year in this country legally. Someone says another thing that you're told, you cannot work for someone and be paid well or rich. No, that's not true. You may not be super wealthy, but you will be. I mean, people are collecting. The MD of Zenith Bank is on over 800 million now a year. I beg, go and get a better job. If you don't have one, leave your job. Stop blaming your employer or create one that can give you that kind of money. Some people collect 3 billion. The highest paid CEO in Nigeria is about 3 billion. They're Nigerians. I know people that earn over 1 point something billion. When you are collecting over 100 million, but let's leave it. Whatever you collect, you must every income that you make must address three things, or else you are going to fall into poverty. So what he has said is a formula that needs one more thing: investment. You must always, and at times you decide there's no other than fast route. Some people say 10% savings, 10% investment. You must invest in a capital that can appreciate. There are always three objectives you have for investment. Number one is income. Number two is capital growth. Number three is security. Broad objective for investment. And I treated that in some of those books I spoke about. So you must always invest. I mean, because if you don't invest, savings will only help you for emergencies and, like we said, pension. It will not be enough. It is the investment that will keep generating compounded interest that you reinvest. It will give you partly income. It will also be reinvested again. Why we're all here is that we don't have 30-year investment. We don't have 15 years investment. And when you plan your investment, the extensive work I've done, it must be gated. So I'm telling someone, you don't have a child now, start to plan for that child in 5 years. I did one years ago, and I have for my daughter, I just say, you know what, I'll start a education insurance. It was an insurance and savings scheme. It was way back in 2006 and 7. I was just putting 10,000. After 3 years, it matured. They gave me 30-40% interest on it. And they gave me 600,000. I said, it was just 10K every month. The question is, if I've been doing that for 20-30 years, people say, I don't have much. I will not have less than 20-15 million invested. And that has, that, I mean, I did say that I'm a young pensioner. I collect pensions. I collect pensions because once I turn 50, they said they start paying me. And pensions I collect is more than what people collect, when they're directors and all. But what can that do? I was laughing. I said, this is not my own pension. This is something to be reinvested. It will buy petrol and all of that. But so my point is three things constitute that formula. Your personal, your family income should be spent on consumption because you need to survive. Even if it's a debt, every debt you take must go into three things: consumption, savings, and investment. If nothing, if you can't go into savings for debt, let it go into investment because that asset will eventually bail you out. The challenge is we don't have anything growing anywhere. Olumide Emmanuel, I think, is a pastor in Ibadan. He shares his experience. He bought land. That was all. He bought land a long time ago. He just bought land. I have a brother who has done that. He was calling us, come and buy land. He's a landpreneur. He was buying, he would borrow, he was working in a company. He told me the only reason why he was working was he was able to get credit from his friends. He will borrow money from them, buy 4 plots of land. He will sell 2 and pay back, and then he won't 2. That was how and people don't know that you don't need money to do anything. Your own money. It is called other people's money. And I dealt extensively at that. In 2005, I worked for Moabudu, awesome woman in Vic Lawrence. And I always shared a lot of things I took away from her. One day we were going together on a consulting trip to Alausa. And she was telling me, like, it's OPM, it's OPM. I was riding with her in her car. I said, Mo, what is OPM? He said, you don't know OPM? I said, Mo, I don't know OPM. Now, if I know, I wouldn't have asked. He said, other people's money. The richest people on earth are the greatest debtors. And they never created anything from their, what you call, their equity. Equity is always 10%, 90%. Dangote is the most indebted person on earth. America is the biggest and the richest economy, is the most indebted. What they have done is they have turned debt into assets. The challenge we all have is we collect income, we collect debt, we consume. We will never get out of that pit. That is the secret. And we must, the discipline is being able to now invest, because you are borrowing. Most of us are borrowing. Where someone says, don't live above your means, it's a lie. The Bible says, I will supply your needs according to my riches in glory. Is that your means? And it's not saying you should live and be living recklessly. I'm just saying you need to understand, go borrow not a few, but many. Because it was not for consumption. It was for them to sell and then for them to produce. It was for production. So the challenge in life is we are consuming everything. We are not investing enough. Savings is good, but savings will not save you from poverty. It will only address your emergencies and the most basic needs. Investment is what will get you out of poverty. Thank you very much.
Wow. Savings will not save you from poverty in retirement. So there's work for us to do. Thank you so much, sir. It's been a very, very productive session. We've learned so much. Everybody has just been paying rapt attention, and we are going to get to watch this again because we've recorded it and we'll send it out along with the slides and the links to the resources and the books that will further expand our knowledge and our capacity on what we can do, to retire well. So thank you everyone for staying on. Typically our webinars don't last this long, but you agree with me that this will even require a week for us to really delve into the nitty-gritty, and be able to cover ground. But we are so grateful to Dr. Oladapo, who has, given us his time. He's giving us his insights, his knowledge and energy, and passion tonight. We're so grateful. So grateful. So thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone who has joined us tonight. Somebody is asking, can we share your email so that people who want to ask, I don't know, or is there a forum where they can follow you, maybe on Instagram? I don't know whether you do Instagram or Facebook, in case people want to follow you, sir.
All right. Thank you very much. So those are the things I'm trying to, we've been busy building so many things. I'll very soon I have a WhatsApp group. Thankfully, maybe this will set that up so that I can send that link and we all can start having conversations like this more regularly. There's so much free things to share, and there's some things that we may not, but you also can follow me on LinkedIn. I do a lot of stuff on LinkedIn. So just check for Dr. Olayiwola Oladapo. I do that almost all the time. So on LinkedIn, and then I think very soon we're going to have a WhatsApp group, and then probably Telegram group that we can use. But you can follow me on LinkedIn. You can follow me on Facebook. And check for me. You see it. I drop things there. So basically, and if you need to ask me questions, Doc can give you my number. I'm busy, but I mean, I would, for this group and anybody that comes from here, I'll find time.
Thank you so much, sir. We have a very diverse group here tonight, not only doctors, actually. So LCI embraces all professionals. We have people from oil and gas. In fact, when I looked at our registration, people from oil and gas, from health, from paints, people who are into painting, manufacturing, consulting, management, legal, water corporation, different institutions, agriculture, dentistry, communication, finance and technology, public administration, pharmaceuticals, even the police. So it's amazing, how we've been able to bring together so many professionals, and we're all interested in this one thing, how we can live to win. That's our slogan at LCI, live to win. So our choices will help us to live longer and prevent lifestyle-related diseases. So this is the time to sign out. 3 minutes before the hour of 10. So thank you once again, everyone. And as we usually do, you are free to unmute and so we can hear your voice.
Thank you very much, Dore.
Thank you very much, Dr.
Very much appreciate the presenter.
Thank you, everyone. It's been wonderful. Thank you. God bless you, Dr. Thank you.
Stayed this long, but
everyone.
because of the presentation, so interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Fantastic session. Bye, everyone.
God will reward the labor of love.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you.
Yeah, highly welcome.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. God bless you too.
Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
And thank you, sir, for the nice, insightful lecture.
God bless you.
Thank you very much, ma. Thank you for the very beneficial lecture.
You're highly welcome.
Good night, ma.
Thank you so much. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, Dr.
Yes,
God bless you. I'm highly impacted. God bless you. Good night.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Night, everybody.
Night.
Thank you, Dr. I appreciate you.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Yes, I'll send the links. I'll send the links.
And thanks to Dr. Oladapo.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Goni. Thank you so much, everyone.
Dr. You have really touched the innermost part of my mind this evening. Honestly,
Wow.
For you to even think of bringing something like this out is amazing. It's amazing. Dr. Oladapo has dug deep into our right senses to teach us what we thought we knew and we didn't even know about it at all. Honestly speaking, we should not lose people like Dr. Oladapo. We must be fully connected with him so that we can get more knowledge. Thank you so much, Dr. God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that feedback. I'm sure he's excited, hearing this feedback.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. I'm going to sleep like a baby tonight. This is more than what morning can give. I hoped, I'm sorry we had to rush a lot of things. I'm talking about maybe 180 slides. I had to pick what can we talk about. So for you to be giving this feedback, I've made billions tonight. Thank you very much, everyone. God bless you. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Thank you, sir. You don't know the quality of the impact you have made in our lives this evening. You don't know. Honestly, it's more than what you will sit down and pay 150,000 for. I have gone to many different lectures in and outside the country, and we know how much a lecture like this will cost. Honestly, God bless you, Dr. Oladapo. God bless you. You have really tried.
So, amen. Thank you very much. I'm giggling. I can't believe it. I can't. Thank you very much. God bless you all. I look forward to more sessions. Where we can maybe do a deeper dive on.
I have quickly sent you a friend request on Facebook now.
Okay, no problem, sir. I'll accept it. Friend for life. Thank you very much, sir.
Looking forward to more sessions from you, sir.
But we will look forward to that. Yes, we will plan that.
Thank you so much, Dr. Aramakinde.
Yes, ma, you're highly welcome. My pleasure. I'm so happy that we've given some. Yes. So have a good night, sirs and mas. I think we'll be closing the room now.
Okay, good night. Well done.
Have a restorative sleep.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good night, Dr.